Callie Leone, CEO and founder of EUNOE, and Vivian Chazen, founder of the Hive VR. These three uh, industry thought leaders will share their experiences and their journeys from really diverse backgrounds, from gaming to healthcare and art. And they invite some audience participation, so please use the chats. And they are going to talk about how to overcome their journeys with concussions, epilepsy, and cancer. The session is titled Building Resilience Through Neurodiversity and XR. Ladies, take it away.
Thank you.
Yep, we have a video.
Hey, everyone.
Show.
This pandemic has been a real reminder for me how we're all just passing through.
With the powers of XR, I have a newfound resilience to handle any situation.
So in the crazy times of today, virtual reality is the one thing that's stopping me from completely going mad.
And so resilience means continuing to lift people through my art, plugging into community, and being unapologetically kind.
VR truly helps me not only get out of bed, but leave the house to go to social settings, to exercise for days where I'm not feeling well due to COVID and also chronic illness.
COVID has nothing on XR.
VR has been helping me stay fit with games like Beat Saber and Audio Trip.
The health and wellness VR app that I've used the most during this crazy time to build resilience has definitely been Audio Trip. The flow, the dance, the music has really helped good vibes come through my body. Woo!
It gives me the ability to continue exploring, to seeing what's out there in the cyber universe, and also socialize and engage with my body in games and activities, and really have some of what I have out there, but in this tiny room.
Now on the social side, while Zoom lets you see each other, VR truly lets you be with one another.
I'm a VR esport player. I've learned to build resilience from competing by losing, actually. Through loss is where you learn your lessons, and the important thing is to get back up until you do win.
I've been cultivating resilience through XR by being able to create an environment where people can reflect on their own lived experience and start to communicate the embodiment of pain and emotion through 3D drawing.
We use creative technology to dispel isolation and feelings of overwhelming powerlessness. This creates more resilient individuals, groups, and communities.
Yes, I can say that without virtual reality, I would have gone completely crazy. Maybe I have.
And we are using XR to train our caregivers, and in the future we see opportunities to help improve the well-being of our elderly in our facilities.
I'm using this technology to create and practice physical, social, and emotional resilience.
Because by being able to name something, that is the first stage in understanding it and hopefully being able to do something about it.
I even had a memorable birthday party in VR.
During COVID-19, I was quarantined for a month in my house, but because of VR, my quarantine was only physical. Mentally and spiritually, I was free as a bird.
Also using XR to provide e-learning programs for our caregivers so they don't have to come together and they don't have to travel as often as they should.
See you in vivo.
Maybe none of this is real. Who am I talking to?
Well, we want to thank all of our friends for contributing to the video. We are a collaborative group of people, so we always love hearing from and learning from each other. So I want to welcome you to our panel today on building resilience through neurodiversity with my friends Callie and Max. Callie and Max and I, we met about 2 years ago, and we've been friends ever since, and we've shared a lot of similar journeys. And that's where we've really connected with each other because we experience so much of the same things. And we want to invite you to come into a conversation with us and what it's like when we're talking with each other, but based on our experience, which is, I think, is a little bit unique. Well, my name is Vivian Chazen, and a few years ago, I had a really difficult time. And on top of that, I was diagnosed with cancer. It was a neuroendocrine cancer. It's very rare. There was no statistics on it. So there's nothing to pull from except for the people previous. And all I knew was I had about a 30 to 40% chance of surviving. So it was very overwhelming, but my oncology team was just amazing, and they were very aggressive with treatments. And so I'm happy to report that I'm healthy, and they saved my life and I survived. And afterwards, though, was where things were really frustrating because I realized I'm not the same person anymore. And that really sucks. I mean, I wasn't so bad. So to not be, at your same level of capacity anymore was just really difficult for me. And that's when I started to game. And so I must tell you, I'm not a gamer. And I really, really have to stress this because it's not natural. This is so different from what I would normally do. I mean, I play Candy Crush and Pac-Man scares me. So just to give you an idea, okay? But I play competitive VR esports. I play a game called Onward, and it's a milsim. It's a strategic, tactical 5v5 game where you're on a team and you're attacking the other team, and then you have 6 minutes to complete your goal, and then you swap sides and you do it again. And it's intense. We play like 10 months out of the year. So it's a very, very intense time, and it really helped me in very, very profound ways that I don't think it was the intention of it, but that's what it did. And I'm here to tell you that why it helped me so much, because trying new things works. And it's part of growth of being human. Being out of my element actually matched how I was feeling, which was not very smart. So it gave me permission to just kind of be in a game and not know anything and receive help, and just not having to have the answer to everything or to be on top of everything all the time. And the feeling of failure is like super scary and avoidable if you play it safe, which I don't play it so safe. I mean, there really is no other feeling than when you lose 27 times in a row. I heard that happened to somebody. And and then one time you finally win. I mean, that feeling is just amazing because you won, right? And that really mirrored what I went through in real life and made me realize I didn't survive. I defeated cancer. And that game really helped me discover that. So that's my story. And I want to introduce you to my buddy over here, Callie, to tell hers.
Hey, everyone. So welcome to virtual AWE. I can't wait for this to actually take place in virtual reality. So my story is I've been in VR for quite a while now. And about a year ago, I was working at the VR lab at Yale, and I got into a car accident that left me with a really bad concussion or traumatic brain injury. And that sidelined me for most of last year. Actually, AWE was going to be my big social debut back. So I'd kind of been quarantining pretty much all of 2019. I ended up not really being able to be social because lights and noise were so overwhelming for me. I couldn't walk down the street in New York. I had trouble watching television. I have sometimes still trouble with action movies with lots of bright lights and things like that. But what I found with VR is that I was able to create a space for myself to really understand what I was going through and connect my mind and my body, right? And it was a self-driven practice. And because I have an experience in the industry, I know what to try, what games to stay away from, because some of them are more intense than others. But this was a profoundly impactful medium for me to grow and really manage my recovery. So it actually prompted me to start my company, EUNOE, which means good mind in Greek. It's actually based on this whole literary slew from Dante. It's a river that returns your mind to the best state possible, the best version of who you are. And I believe that that is what virtual reality allows us to do, is to become the best version of ourselves.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to talk about that with you ladies on the panel and continuing those discussions beyond. Max, I know you have a lot to add on these subjects, so you want to chime in?
Yes, I do. So, hi, my name is Max Noir. I'm the head of the US branch of FXG in China. Yeah, so I got into XR a few years back, starting out with art and now moving into the 360 video realm with FXG. So what brings me here is when I was a sophomore in high school, I had my very first seizure in chemistry class. It was a lot of fun. um, so just a few months after my very first seizure, I was diagnosed with epilepsy. And a couple months after that, I woke up one day and half of my face was frozen, paralyzed with Bell's palsy. So I got rushed to the ER. Everyone thought I was having a stroke. Thank God I wasn't. But they found out that I had really late stage chronic Lyme disease, which is a very misunderstood disease. And it's been nicknamed the invisible disease, as you look good, you look normal, you don't look like you're sick, but you feel dead inside. I'm gonna go for it.
Yeah, it's a conversation.
That goes for so many things that we're talking about, right? Physical, social, emotional health, and feeling differently than the way that you're presenting to the world.
Exactly.
That's why we're all here.
Exactly. Yeah. So for me, my biggest transitions were cognitive. Doctors say that on average, human beings will fluctuate in their IQ points about 3 points in a lifetime. Between the anti-seizure medication that I have to take and my chronic Lyme disease, I lost 21 IQ points literally overnight. So as you can imagine, being in high school and waking up with a brand new brain one morning, I stopped being able to read. I stopped being able to write. I slept through every math class, and it was not normal. And yeah, basically I just had to figure out how to use a brand new brain and figure out how to find success inside of areas that used to just come so easily for me. So when I finally discovered VR years later, I realized how much potential it has to help me attend all of the things I have to attend, like meetings, classes, social outings, because leaving the house and getting out of the bed is one of the hardest things that a chronic Lyme person can have to do. And fortunately, we have to do that a lot. So I guess you can say I've been semi-quarantined for about a decade now. But thank God for VR, right? So I'm
Seriously.
wondering, I know when my moment was, but I'm wondering, Vivian, when was the first time that you put on a VR headset and you sort of woke up to the fact that it can help you with your mental resiliency?
Well, I instantly fell in love. I think that's the standard response. But for this very moment, there was a very profound moment when I had finished chemo, and it is brutal chemo. My doctor's like, how are you still standing? Because most people have to be hospitalized. And yes, I was standing to a point, but the steroids to offset the nausea was so intense that my body just jittered. It just looked like the world was vibrating. But I was so tired. So I was I felt like I was going at full speed, but my body wasn't moving. And it was just so discombobulating, and I was like, maybe I'll just try to put on a headset. And I put on a headset, and I believe I was touring different worlds in VR chat. And the movement just kind of reconciled the difficulty I was having with my head and my physical self, which is interesting. It's just anecdotal, but that moment I was like, oh my gosh, this is calming me down, because my mind is tired, and everything is racing, and it just kind of fixed that for me. So that was a moment where I'm like, okay, this is a little bit more than just fun,
Yeah,
totally. For me, I a month before this car accident, I had been so adamant about showing all my friends different games in VR, from Beat Saber, Tilt Brush, all of these different things. I was that crazy person that would carry around a headset in my backpack at all times.
You're not crazy.
Craziness.
Oh no, definitely not.
We're supposed to.
We're innovators. And I remember I was like, this is amazing. This is so much fun. And I got into this accident, and all of a sudden I'm like, I can't do what I used to do. I used to have a really high score in Beat Saber. What happened? And I lost about 70% of my peripheral vision in my right eye. It was one of, many things that I had to do vision therapy, along with cognitive therapy and emotional therapy and pretty much physical therapy. Every different kind of therapy that was out there, I had to do it. And my vision therapist actually handed me this Google Cardboard and said, why don't you just put your phone in here and watch 360 videos of people driving through Times Square in New York City and try to see if you can go 10 seconds without getting dizzy. I just looked at her and I was like, you realize that's going to make anyone dizzy.
Yes.
And these videos, they are not new. This is like really maybe 3-4 years ago for VR. I was like, this is my field. We deliberately don't put people into that because it's going to make the average person dizzy. It's not going to help me. So I was really inspired. I was like, well, how do we actually use VR to really grow and find a way to recover? So I started timing myself and going into really low key applications like Tilt Brush. And I started for like 3 to 5 minutes. I mean, I used to be in VR for like hours, and I would just connect mind and body and just draw a straight line. I'm not an artist, or certainly don't think of myself as one, but giving myself these small achievable goals through intentional sessions really changed my relationship to myself and the world around me. And I've loved exploring and just trying different things and just seeing how it makes me feel, and being aware of how my body feels when I try something, or whether it's Onward or Tilt Brush or Where Thoughts Go, any of these wonderful experiences. It's very different. So.
Yeah. For me, like, my very first experience with VR was with a DK1. I was just sort of going through all of the demo videos, and it was great, but I had so much anxiety because I do have epilepsy, and I have the photosensitive type, meaning, flashing lights or just kind of lots of stimulus can trigger me. So I really wanted to try this new cutting edge tech, but I had so much anxiety in my head when I was going and I was putting it on, and I ended up getting so sick and like borderline, like got pretty close feeling to having a seizure, and I had to take it off and like went to sleep for 3 hours. I'm stoked. Like I told you ladies before, like I'm one of the luckiest epileptics in the world because I have found so much success with medication. It took 10 years and lots of terrible days, but now I have this medication that works for me. I'm stable, so I can do things like go in VR now and, go to concerts and not be so easily triggered. But I'm sort of a strange case for somebody to be working in VR, given that I do have photosensitive epilepsy. But for me, like the best experiences have been all of the multiplayer experiences that let me get out of my bed in my house and let me succeed. Shout out to Engage for making such an amazing like multiplayer meeting space. All of the social VR apps, AltSpace, VR Chat, and then like Beat Saber helps me feel good on any day, whether I can exercise for 5 minutes or 5 hours, even though my battery doesn't last that long. But yeah, I mean, I don't waste money on gym memberships that I never go to anymore because I just, I play Beat Saber when I can. And it's been really transformative for me.
Yeah, one of the things I think is really powerful with this technology, and I think all three of us have talked about this before, is we often need to take a break from whether it's a social situation or a physical one, whether it's too many lights or noises or something going on. And for me, virtual reality has opened up this whole world because I'm able to take that break and close my eyes when the lights in Beat Saber are just too much for my head.
Yeah.
Even in social apps, like I can take a break where if I was in person and I ended up going like this because the music was too loud or like covering my ears, everyone's going to look at me like, oh my God, what is her problem? Why is she here?
Yeah.
We don't have that judgment in virtual reality. You just get the energy you put into the experience and the people around you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you two can speak about that with your experiences.
Yeah.
And anything built on that.
That's such an important part for me, not just when I'm, not feeling well with Lyme, but there are all of these times that I can recall where I was sitting on, a cement pavement, sidewalk in the middle of New York City, even one time. And I had to sit down in the middle of the street because I knew I was about to have a seizure. And when that happens to me in any location, anywhere in the world, the worst part is that I know I'm totally fine and that like 5 minutes from now, it's going to be like pretty much nothing happened. But I am always so worried and concerned about what the people are thinking around me. Am I scaring them? Are they worried about me? I know I'm fine. And I know that when people have seizures, it looks scary to other people, even though we're almost always okay. And also processing sometimes is very difficult for me. And when I people probably aren't thinking this, but we think that they're thinking this, that we're taking too long to come up with, like we're taking too long to figure out 2 + 2 or like what our opinion is on like a certain matter. But once that anxiety creeps in that like we're not processing fast enough, it just gets way worse. And that's the hardest part about like living in reality when your cognitive game isn't on point all the time. So yeah, VR, people don't know, they can't see your wheels turning when they're turning at like a mile per minute,
It's a lot more forgiving.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, like it's like the permission to not know or to kind of hide. Or one of the things that I always think about with, because we also create as well, but for me, I'm always pushing VR esports because it's so awesome. Like we were just talking about how cool it was when we were watching it at Oculus Connect 5 on stage, and
that was insane. Really, first time I'd ever seen it.
It's like such a cool way to demonstrate what we love about VR, which is like how fun it is, as the same time as showing, headsets. And then it involves everybody, the developers, the studios, the players, and it's so exciting. But I'm really into stealth health, because sometimes you just can't like tell people like this is what you need, like really in their face. It sometimes doesn't work as good as your intentions are. And that's what I really loved about joining Onward and playing in the league, is that there's outcomes that were beyond what I'm sure Dante, the creator, imagined. He was just making a cool game. And for me, I mean, like, look at the map behind me. It's a little intense looking, right? This is my favorite map. But this is what I mean, is like being able to do something that ultimately doesn't matter. Don't tell my team I said that, but ultimately it doesn't matter. But you take that time to think about it like it does, and you're planning everything out. And ultimately it just made me feel like, okay, I can do this. Right. And that's why I'm going to get you guys to play Onward with me, because it's so outside of what I would normally do. It is so not what I would normally do, but here I am doing it, because it just asks you the question: if you fall, can you get back up? And
that
can you
is
see
the
why?
Definition of resilience.
Yes, exactly.
When you get down, how quickly do you get back up?
Yeah.
And whether that's on a physical scenario, whether you're dealing with cancer, a brain injury, epilepsy, or Lyme, or mental health and wellness, this is all about getting back up once you've been knocked down.
Yeah, for sure. Vivian, they should pay you. Onward should pay you, I'm pretty sure.
Oh
You're
yeah,
like
you hear that, guys? You should
The
pay me.
spokeswoman
You hear
over
that?
here.
Well, I mean, it's not just Onward. There's Echo as well, which just got
Yep.
the Quest port, and they are also a league. And there's other games. It's like working in a team, which we were talking about, like the multiplayer aspect of it. That means
Yeah.
so much because the VR community has helped me beyond
Yeah.
belief. Because I'm sure, like you've experienced, the people in your life are, as much as they want to empathize and stuff, but they miss the old you just as much,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas in VR, it's our natural gathering place for people who
Yeah.
may have anxiety, may not want to go outside, may not be who they are in real life, but they can be in VR. So it invites those types of stories, and that's what I really love about it.
You're touching on something so important, which is this concept of presence, right? So we can talk about presence from a development standpoint about what does it mean to actually be present in an experience, but there's a presence in terms of your physical and emotional sense of self and where you are. And VR gives you this unprecedented agency over that presence to remove yourself from something really painful and expose yourself to something that is more along the lines of where you want to be or the person you could become. So I'd be really curious if you guys could talk about either things that you've done in the past or things you'd like to see in the future that build on that sense of presence that, you know, in that, I can't even speak today, that like kind of builds up your sense of resiliency and efficacy through VR.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to see?
Yeah, well, I think I can't answer that question without like briefly touching upon the weird, ridiculous time that we are living in right now that will be in all of the textbooks. COVID, like the entire world right now is trying to figure out, you know, whether it's survival or it's how do I keep my anxiety down, or it's how do I stay connected? How do I stay fit? Like all of these things, we're all trying to figure out how to, you know, virtualize different solutions. And we're seeing this huge acceleration of the VR industry that, you know, from something so bad and so terrible, at least there's that. At least VR is sort of coming out into the open, and everyone, you know, with the Quest being sold out every single day for months, like everyone's hopping on this train. So experiences and technology have been developing at such an amazing rate, in my opinion, these last few years. And I've seen so many incredible multiplayer experiences that I know are like, they're the now and they're definitely the future of cooperation. And so for me, I would just love to see the continuation of development for, you know, workplace apps, virtual meeting spaces, social gatherings, multiplayer exercising in VR. And on top of that, I'm such a fan of storytelling, and obviously VR is the best tool, obviously, that we have so far for storytelling. So I'm just stoked to see, like, in the future how we're able to genuinely teleport into the shoes of another and learn something and just like listen to somebody else's story.
Yeah, those are like exactly all the things that we were thinking about as people who, you know, create in VR and in general. For me, I was thinking how much I appreciate developers who allow customization. And I don't mean just like avatars or anything like that. It's because we all know how immersive VR is, right? It's this totally different experience where you may or may not have, you know, ran into your wall, you know, just maybe.
I know a few people who have done that.
Maybe broke something. I don't know. I just heard that some people do this. So that happens because it's so immersive. It's like a different world. But when you're designing it, it's like you have to take into account that you're being put into something that's not you, right? But developers, a lot of them have done really good work about giving options. For example, teleporting and locomotion. I think some people prefer teleporting, some people prefer locomotion. And blinders for when you're teleporting.
there's all these different aspects that are so different from traditional gaming that you have to take into consideration. And I think people like us really give that perspective, because it's a little bit more than I want to have fun. You know, it's a little bit like there are some limitations that maybe you have not thought about. So I definitely think customization is like where it's at to allow people to choose their comfort.
Yeah, and I would
totally agree.
love
Oh
to
no, keep going, Max.
to touch
Sorry.
on that real quickly. Yeah, developers, like, great job, round of applause to you for the customization, you know, options. One thing I do want to just like throw out there is when you have like, a good example for me is I'm epileptic, but I haven't had seizures in like a couple years now, so I'm allowed to drive. That doesn't mean that you should like put a strobe light in my face. So sometimes I see like stoplights that just like blink really, really fast. And I'm always like, why do they do that? Because there are people out here who are allowed to safely drive, or they're passengers in cars who aren't even driving. And they just have to like have this strobe light go into their face. So thinking about the fact that there are people out there who are able to use VR, but maybe, you know, like in Callie's case, the fast movements, the lights are bothersome. For me, it's the photosensitivity. I think going forward, I would also love to see just like content warnings before at the beginning of experiences, just like you would see in a movie that says, you know, warning, may induce seizures. And just to like, things like that will just like make VR experiences so much more accessible to more people.
Totally. I think, oh, are we at Q&A already? Okay. We'll do one. I don't even remember what I was going to say. So
well, Callie's wrapping it up. So
we can open it up to Q&A, but I think what I'm really curious with the community is we're going to be continuing this discussion. We're going to be hosting at least one, maybe more meetups in alt space in the future around not only neurodiversity, but building resilience in XR for social, emotional, and mental health and well-being. I'd love to know on Twitter, we're going to put our handles up. What are you doing to build resilience? How do you want to build resilience? What is helpful to you? And we'd really like to help support that journey from a content perspective, as well as from a communal one. So we're going to open up the floor to questions, and let's bring in the live interaction part of the panel today. If I could speak English, that would help.
Ladies, thank you so much for first of all, thank you so much for sharing your stories. They're truly inspiring. I was riveted, fascinated by some of your journeys and some of the things you've gone through. I applaud your strength for sharing. Couple of questions from the audience, and then I've got some of my own. Heather said that again, she loved some of the stories that you've been sharing. You've mentioned quite a few apps, and she was wondering if you could each maybe name your favorite.
That's a really hard question.
Not for me.
I think
it's
I know
displayed behind me. It's obviously Onward, so I'm just gonna shout that out.
My favorite. It's really tough. It depends on the kind of category. So for me, if I'm looking at really building that sort of the mind-body connection, I've been really enjoying Beat Saber, but also the new launch of Supernatural from Within. I find that because the environment is so natural and really grounded in nature and less on a futuristic lights and strobe light situation, it's much more forgiving. So I highly recommend that. I had a great workout there yesterday, and I think we can really, see a lot of really good things coming out of there. Tilt Brush, I highly recommend that as well. Even if you don't consider yourself an artist, just to draw a line. Like, that's all you need to do is draw
line of stars.
Line, and then take 2 steps forward and then wonder where your line went. To me, that is the ultimate magic of virtual reality, is just being able to create something and then realize that what you created was actually three-dimensional and not a line on a page. So those ones right there are really ones that stick out to me. There's plenty of others. I think we can put up a big list, so stay tuned for that. That'll compile all of these recommendations. Max?
Yeah, I'll say quickly engage for the terms of like productivity, having meetings, having events is really amazing. But I have to say, super hot. Because
the movement mechanics.
I feel terrible all the time. That's not true. I feel terrible a lot though. And going into super hot just like makes me into a ninja. And I need that. Like, I really need that. I feel like it definitely like builds me up to like conquer, you know, reality and eat breakfast and things like that.
Hashtag ninja vibes. We all want that one.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Anna asks, did you say stealth health? I'm not exactly sure what the question there is, but can someone elaborate on stealth?
I love that you use that term.
Yeah, I use stealth health because it's when sometimes when people say like, well, you need this because of, you know, here's a how-to book. But stealth health is about like pulling things out of people that they need, that they don't know they need, by offering things that aren't, you know, that might be beneficial and fun, that isn't in their face so much. And so like for me, I try to think about that because it goes beyond what, you know, like, oh, you have cancer, you should go to a cancer support group, as opposed to, you know, you can't function so much anymore, why don't you try competitive gaming? Okay, that's a little extreme. All right, I'm an extreme person. So, but yes, that's stealth health for me.
But it's play, and it's exercising those same capabilities that you would want to be practicing in a fun and engaging setting, right?
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm.
So
sort of like distraction therapy. You don't really know you're improving.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, a lot of people are doing work like that in VR. So
one of my questions, you know, what innovation or something that's maybe not here or on the horizon are you most looking forward to, or wish would get accelerated?
That's a great one. I mean, I would say right off the top of my head, just more immersive storytelling incorporated with 360 video and 6 DOF, like the, you know, 6 degrees of freedom, the ability to be mobile inside of a 360 video so that you just really feel immersed. And also like haptic feedback, Ready Player One style. I'm ready to have that bodysuit on and to feel pain, feel, you know, maybe I don't know.
Biofeedback.
Let me work on this.
Real ninja vibes.
Real ninja vibes.
I love it.
Well, I'm looking to just grow VR esports. I mean, there's so many great things out there, but it's not like, why it should be at every conference. Like, bring the players out and show off the game and the equipment. I mean, it's like, it's so easy and it involves everybody. So that would be what I would love to see, is like more continuation of the use of what we love so much.
So for me, what I'm really excited about is looking at the holistic and lifestyle integration of XR outside of the world of gaming or the world of film, where it kind of permeates our general day-to-day life. So in that wellness space, in the health space, looking at incorporating all of these tactics of whether it's biofeedback or any of these game mechanics to help people better understand themselves. And as a result, connect more genuinely with people around us. So that is what I'm looking forward to. We could do a whole other discussion just on that question.
I'm sure.
I look forward to having that. So
we are.
Can we put up our handles so that people can reach us?
Just gonna say we're out of time, but we'd love to find out how we stay in touch and how we find out about the alt space get-togethers, etc. So
Yeah, please just like smash those tweet buttons, tweet us your thoughts. Just like stay in touch with us over Twitter, LinkedIn. We'll be announcing more information soon about the Alt Space event. And also we just really want to know like what app has been so impactful for you? What are you looking for more content creators to make in the future? Just stay in touch. We love to continue this conversation. And also call your local governments and tell them to get this stuff in schools.
Exactly.
An
Schools,
afterthought.
bring this around and stay resilient. Keep trying things and be open-minded. So that's where we're at.
Thank you so much.
Is that it?
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Yes,
Thank
thanks, everyone.
you.